Despite being so young, Azula was considered one of the most feared and ruthless members of the Fire Nation royal family. To match that terrifying reputation, Azula has a scorching blue fire that shocks many when they encounter it. But why is this? Why is Azula's firebending blue? Well, hit that sub button if you haven't already, and let's dive into the reasons. Some are absolutely crazy. So the first major reason why Azula's fire is blue is heat. Blue fire is a very real thing in our world, with only the hottest flames turning to blue. Unless of course there happens to be sulfur around. These flames can get as hot as 2,500 to 3,000 degrees Celsius, allowing them to completely decimate anything in its path. Knowing this, it's pretty safe to assume that Azula bends fire much hotter than everyone around her, including her own father. As we see from the many fights against the other benders, this blistering hot flame is capable of frightening even the most skilled of benders and obliterating their defenses. This is even further confirmed in the chase episode where, after shooting her flames at the building in the chase for Aang, they start off blue, but after burning for a few seconds, they degrade to red. This is clear and undeniable proof that her flames are much hotter than anyone else's we've seen in the Avatar universe so far. But this leaves us with one major question. Why was Azula's fire not blue when she was younger? Did it not burn as hot back then? We see both in the intro to the series and in her demonstration to Fire Lord Azulon that she produces the standard and traditional orange or red flame, not hotter or more powerful than any other firebender. Well, that leads us on to the next point, Azula's deep hatred and anger. We know that after Fire Lord Sozin's ascension to the Fire Nation throne that he planned to rebuild the world with firebenders on top. As part of this, the firebenders lost their spiritual and ancestral connections to their element, forgetting that it can be powered by the sun. Instead, they turned inwards towards anger, hatred, and pain to fuel their bending. With this in mind, we can assume that the level of anger and hatred one holds within themselves is directly related to the strength and the heat of their flame. Iroh, for example, is a deeply calm and peaceful man. He doesn't hold anger or hatred in his heart, and therefore his flames are not as hot as Azula's. Even Fire Lord Ozai did not hold as much anger within him because he believed that he was divinely chosen to rule the world. Any fear or anger that he might have had simply melted because he believed that he was a godly being who could fix it all. And on top of that, we don't see any firebenders of the ancient Sun Warrior tradition bend blue fire. This is likely because they use the natural source of fire, which is the sun. Nature likely deems no need for a human to ever bend fire hot enough to turn it blue like Azula's. Blue fire can only bring pain and destruction and harm to other parts of nature, and for that, one must turn inwards and funnel their rage and anger into their bending. So why does Azula have so much hatred within her then? There is one major factor, her mother. If you look at the examples of Azula bending normal orange fire, they are all before the time that her mother was forced to leave. Azula feels a huge sense of abandonment, betrayal, and ultimately hatred towards her mother. She feels that her mother both favored Zuko and considered Azula a monster who could not be redeemed. These actions and this anger fuels her from the moment Ursa leaves the palace and allows her emotions to brew inside of her. As we know from Uncle Iroh, firebending comes from the breath, and every breath Azula takes has been boiling over with hatred, anger, and contempt for her mother, heating up the fire that she produces and allowing it to burn a bright blue. Another factor which leads directly into this is Azula's perfection. She was deeply offended at having even one hair out of place, just one pip in her cherries, and throughout the show, perfection is a major theme for her. It's clear that from a very young age, she strived to be a prodigy, likely pushed by her father Ozai. She is trying to be the perfect daughter, the perfect leader, the perfect foe for Team Avatar. The peak form of firebending in her eyes is the deadly hot blue fire, and for that reason she would never stop training until she achieved that. This is seen both before her mother leaves and after, which means that this, in combination with her mother's leaving, is what pushed her fire to become blue. Scientifically, a blue flame is one that is almost perfect combustion and one that doesn't have any soot or ash left behind. An orange or red flame, on the other hand, means that the oxidation process has not been done perfectly and is therefore dirtier and less precise. Because of her perfectionism from a young age, combined with her inner flame burning with anger after Ursa leaves, likely led to Azula's firebending being capable of perfect combustion, thus leading to the blue flames that signify Azula. It is probably this perfectionism that also allows her to bend lightning from such a young age, despite not being clear-minded and emotionless, like Iroh says is required. She is so perfect in her technique and so capable of concealing her emotion that lightning comes easy to Azula. Now, the other reason that not many people think of, but that is extremely important, is that Azula is a member of the Fire Nation royal family. Just being part of a bloodline or a family doesn't make one a strong firebender, but specifically being part of this family actually does. We have learned from multiple canon sources that the Fire Nation royal family specifically chose marriages for their children based on firebending ability and strength from the very early days of their reign. At the start of the Fire Nation, the Fire Sages ruled the nation together with the Fire Lord being their head. That quickly changed, however, when the Fire Lord broke off from the order and solidified his family as the new rulers of the nation. From this point onwards, they became the most fierce, strong and skilled firebenders in the land. And because of their specifically chosen marriages, they got stronger with each generation. With so many elite and powerful benders in Azula's bloodline, it's absolutely no surprise at all that she became such a powerful bender herself, even to the point where her flames became hot enough to turn blue. And the one final and very important part of why Azula's fire is blue relates to the ancient dragon masters, Ran and Shaw. Of course, one of them is blue himself, which is the color Azula's dragon gets when she is the voice to Zuko throughout the show, but there is one more part that is very interesting. When the masters show Zuko and Aang the perfect and absolute form of firebending, they display a rich, vibrant and spellbindingly beautiful flame that surrounds them both. Zuko and Aang describe seeing colors that they didn't even know existed, which implies that they're seeing every color possible. But in the actual animation, that surprisingly isn't the case. Suspiciously missing from the array of colors is Azula's perfect shade of azure blue. This could be the ancient masters telling us that Azula's shade of firebending is not part of nature, not natural, and that it simply can't be produced through the traditional forms of firebending, from the sun. This would mean that Azula has perfected the artificial, rage-fueled and anger-driven form of firebending, giving her blue fire, while Zuko and Aang master the natural and traditional form, which can never achieve that blue. Once again contrasting Azula's unrelenting pursuit of perfection with Zuko's openness to change and being influenced by the natural order of the world. This also explains why Iroh, a monstrously powerful firebender, cannot bend blue fire. He doesn't use the perfect but artificial form, choosing to fuel his firebending from nature, the imperfect form. An absolutely beautiful way of utilizing the art of firebending. And in the end, this could also mean that users of the traditional sun form of firebending are going to be capable of bending every color seen in the dragon's rainbow, should they dedicate enough time and discipline to their art, something which artificial rage benders can never achieve. I think it would be incredibly cool if we get some green, purple and maybe pure red firebenders in the new Earth Avatar series coming out in 2025, or Netflix's live-action Avatar The Last Airbender, who have perfected the natural form, once again showing that Azula's blue fire was a mark of weakness on the grand scale, not strength. But let me know what type of fire you would bend in the comments down below, natural sun fire or artificial rage fire. You can't tell me it wouldn't be awesome to have a group of blue, red, even green firebenders all going at it, and maybe the thematic choice between the artificial and the natural. We know in the end that the natural always wins, but it would be great to see that on screen, and maybe we see some more blue firebenders. We haven't had that many of them on screen. Actually, we've only had one, which was Azula. So if we had that nice dichotomy between natural and artificial, between rage and peace, I think that would be awesome for the Netflix Avatar live action show, or the new Earth Avatar series which is coming out in 2025. If you want to know more about that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and there'll be plenty of updates on that. If you made it this far in the video, you don't have to put anything in the comments this time, but maybe check out the videos that are on screen now. If you like this one, you'll probably like the ones on screen now, as they are just like this and awesomely packed with lore. See you in the next one.